Hello. So I have the question, but also I will try to explain a little bit more a context of the question. We are two NGOs, two organizations, Social Center and Family Support Center, but we organize our work together. And also we include the heads of 4 departments in the management of the organization as well. And in 2 months' time, the head of Family Support Center is leaving her position, and the current head of department will take her position. And so a chain of different changes will occur. And of course, there will be different feelings inside the organization, but also in cooperation with the outside, and different reactions and insecurities. And also we will have to work together in this new combination. So it will be necessary to say goodbye and to say hello and to continue working together at the same time, and both the emotional and the systemic aspects of these changes are important. And my question is, what should we pay attention to in order to make this transition as smooth as it is possible? Actually, we want that this change to be as smooth as possible for both sides, for the outgoing and for incoming person, and also to help those who remains in organization and who will be affected by the change. So what we should do that it would go as smoothly as it could.
So first of all, the context is for the person to say goodbye and to give away things. Usually people like to leave things finished. That means when they close the work, they have a possibility to end what they haven't ended up organizationally, and also to have a possibility to say goodbye. So there are 2 things. One thing is to clean up the desk, metaphorically speaking. And another one is to have time and sit and drink tea, coffee, beer, whatever people do, just to spending goodbye time. I think it's having slow time in spending goodbye is a good way to ending. So that's what comes up to my mind. Important things to notice is also to hand over the organization to the other person. And when I say hand over, it's not only metaphorically, but very directly, like meeting all together, introducing the new person to the company, and introducing to major people, department managers, traditions, and things that is usually done, or the way it's done. So it's also part of the things that I'm thinking about. But that's for the leaving person. For the arriving person is also to have a slow introduction time. It's not only usually the companies are busy speeding up things, and it makes sense from the managerial organizational part, but we as human beings we are quite slow in nature, so it would be good to have time to walk around and get yourself acquainted with the surrounding, with the people, with the noise, with the smell, with the atmosphere, just to allow it to sink in, to get into under the skin the organizations, to not only go into meetings, but to go into everyday activities of the family center and see how they meet the clients, as you could say, or people who use their services. And also to get into understanding of organizational things, of see how it's done. So it's one thing is taking in all organizational part, but also the personal part, how to allow and feel the organization. I remember having a conversation with one of my clients recently, asking, how do I decide if I leave the organization or not? So there are things that I like, and there are things that I don't like, and how do I choose? And when I got this question, it was a tricky question for me to answer, but when we explored more thoroughly what is the person came to the understanding what is the nearest step to do. So coming to Dalia's answer, I don't know if we need to look through all the moments and tipping places, but just to see what is the nearest step to do, and then the next step will lead to another one. So that would be my suggestion.
So Viktoras, I hear you say that in the search for a possible answer on her question, it's important to explore what would be a nearer step. And I was actually thinking which would be good questions to start exploring that proximity, which would be a possible nearer step.
Remembering the question of Dalia, she mentioned about smooth, how to make it smooth. I don't know what is smooth for the people leaving and for the person leaving and the person coming. So that would be the first question. What do you need? What does she or he needs leaving and coming the place? That is one question to talk about, because that makes we may check what is smooth for these people. For the closest people, the manager leaving and the manager coming.
Another question I would like to explore is to hear from her if it's like, is it about just changing people on the same position, or is the organization, or are the two organizations also in a kind of transition? So that the smoothness is not just about the two persons, but maybe also about a transition of the organizations on a larger scale, let's say, and more systemic than the. That would be also something I would like to explore with her.
But I also think maybe that this desire for the smooth, I think what you have mentioned already, Viktor, is it's a bit tricky, I think, and I would also like to discuss or to think rather where this unsmoothness can be worked through, because I imagine that there would be really lots of different emotions and feelings for everybody, isn't it? Like, for being happy of leaving, for being sad of leaving, for being maybe happy that manager is changing, also like really mourning for the old manager leaving. So there might be really lots of difficult and even contradictory feelings, right? Because it's like it's like a symbolical birth and symbolical death, but where people can stay with it. And that might not be that smooth from the emotional experience, but the space needs to be created where to stay with that and talk through and accept that, right? So that nothing is really neglected. I think this is a very important aspect to think about. And then thinking about that and thinking maybe about the author of the question, maybe from the more practical perspective, I was thinking that someone who is a bit less involved, so to speak, could take charge of the process itself, so that someone can really sort of look a bit from the further perspective and help, the person who is leaving, the person who is coming in, and then holding the whole organization together in terms of the process. Because when you are involved, it's a bit difficult to think about everything, right? So maybe from the practical perspective, this upper level manager, as I understand, who is still staying in the organization, can really take a charge of sort of overviewing the process, if we can say so.
So you are saying that smoothness is a tricky aim to achieve, and it's good to have someone a bit less involved to guide through it. So it's not so much concentrating on the points to attend, but the person to guide, or people to guide.
Yeah, I think, you know, smoothness in my head is more about how to have the process that can contain very different aspects of the emotions and things that will happen. This is smoothness. But I would think that it would be quite dangerous to think that all the emotions and all the sort of actions will be very smooth and very well coordinated, you know, and flowing from one another.
Yeah.
But of course, it needs to be planned, right? So it's not that I'm suggesting that, you know, just let's live the experience through and, you know, whatever happens, it happens. But it can be a bit tricky, I think. And it's a very important thing to, as I think there was in the presenting of the question, you know, to be capable to say hello and to be capable to say goodbye. And that's quite a big thing to do.
Yeah. But when I am now listening and having time to think, the situation is challenging for the smoothness to achieve, because for people, when they are in a change, they need clarity and go away from uncertainty as quick as possible. The manager who is coming, they are not able usually to provide clarity, or they provide it hastily, quickly, because it's too early for them to give any clarity. They are not clear themselves. So the request for clarity and not readiness to provide clarity, that brings the tension. One of the tensions. I imagine there are more there happening. So the smoothness for me is at least acknowledging these blocks or the places where the contradictions come. Like, as I say, people expect the new coming person to give answers as quick as possible. And the new person or the new managers is quite limited in ability to do, because they still don't know the context yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's one of the contradictions, but possibly it's worth exploring more. What are the risks for smoothness?
I also think that this couple, so to speak, is in quite a difficult dynamic, isn't it? I mean, if you are quite conscious and reflective managers, and let's think that they are, you know, the one who is leaving and the one who is coming, then I think the one who is leaving, I mean, he or she might try be supporting, and then you sort of have to withhold a bit yourself, right? Or a fantasy might be that you have to withhold a bit yourself so that the newcomer has a space to act, while the newcomer might feel that tension, you know, how to get the space, especially if the manager was really loved and good. And then, you know, how not to neglect what has been achieved, but at the same time to create your own role and your own space. So there's also, I think, quite an interesting and difficult dynamic between the two managers, the one that is leaving and the one who is coming. And I think we all have experienced maybe or seen some cases when managers are like, you know, more direct and maybe, I would say, maybe less reflective. And then what happens, or what might happen, is that the upcoming managers start neglecting the past, right? That they start saying that everything was wrong, or, you know, I will do things anew now in a better way, and then I know how to fix it. And I think that's even more difficult maybe. But then even if everything is smooth, it's not that easy, isn't it? Because it's about letting go and then finding your space.
Yeah. Another contradiction, like you, Milda, mentioned, is that should we take everything from the past as a good thing? So where the new person comes in with their own change, then they are neglected. Or the other, you would say, extreme is saying, well, everything from the past was bad, now we will do the right thing. So these two extremes, but they carry the tension of change.
Yeah.
Because if the new person comes and accept that everything is good, they have difficulty finding their own style and input they want to do. And how they balance, how they keep from the past something good and bring something to change, that's the tension. And how to make this tension smooth is acknowledging both. I think acknowledging the dilemmas, that what you say, Milda, or what mentioning, it could help a bit of smoothness. Because I think there are two tasks to solve. One is managerial task, is organizational things to do. It's straightforward. And then there are underlying dynamics, emotions, experiences that are also happening. They might need, and they need different kind of attention. They need to be aware of that, but keep carrying the simple tasks of the day or complicated tasks of the day that you need to do, and not to allow these emotional things to color everything in all good or all bad colors.
But that's why I really liked what you said about those shared places where people can stay, you know, slowly think about it, voice it, talk about it, because I would think it would be a great risk to create, you know, one party for saying goodbye and then another party for saying hello, right? Because it encourages a bit this risk of split, so to speak. So in ideal case, I really like this idea of sitting together, handling over, accepting, you know, being really authentic in the situation, maybe talking about, you know, what is going, you know, who is going through what even. And that's very, I would say, integrating experience.
I was even imagining that there is someone managing in transition or temporarily. Like if the new manager is leaving, the new is coming formally but not yet integrated. So to allow this time and space for the new manager to walk around, to have someone running the institution from within the organization on temporary base and playing with the idea. I don't know. So the person who knows who is within, who will not be a manager, but for a month or two or some short to allow the new coming manager to have some space, not to give quick answers.
Yeah, but I'm a bit suspicious about that because I think, yeah, from the process point of view, it looks very good, but we all know who are the managers, right? Usually the managers have an idea as what they want to do. So I think we could also go and think that this transitional manager's role could be quite difficult, isn't it? Like, you know, to be some kind of mediator, but of course, maybe it might be a model, but might be quite a difficult one.
Yeah, but the idea is how to be in the situation when the situation demands quick answers and new manager is not ready. So how they could, how to go through that.
Yeah. If you're saying if you cannot really allow your time to understand and think and sink in, right? Then it's different, I think,
And allow not knowing for a while.
But then, of course, I think for the new manager, it's also an opportunity to state that and involve the team, right? So that might be also a great step, actually, to say, look, I'm new. I don't know everything. You are the source of knowledge of this organization and the power of this organization. And let's collaborate to find those answers together. So maybe that could be also the way to delegate lots of leadership actually to the team.
That's good. To invite the team to teach the new manager. Yeah,
the leader.
Okay. Shall we stop? We lost Bert on the way.
Yeah, looks like. That's a good way to skip a video, isn't it? Just to fall from the chair.
But that's what happens. I think it happens on the way we speak. One manager just leaves in the middle of the conversation.
Oh yeah, that's a parallel process. So I was
Yeah.
the new manager then.
I like that. And we carry on as if nothing happened. Like, okay,
Yeah.
he
Oops.
left, and oops.
Oops, he's gone. Oh.
And we carry on, and we keep on
Yeah.
looking for ideas and solutions.
But then coming back to citation, I think it would be a bad example not to notice it. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, even it's convenient, isn't it? Someone is gone and we carry on. But I think in organization and teams, it would be extremely, I think, bad even not to notice it. It's like...
But did we notice or did we not?
I think we didn't voice it in the first second, then he fell out, didn't we? And I think this is exactly the parallel process that...
Exactly. But
yeah.
that's a challenge, because if people start noticing, then they need to leave their work and conversation.
Yeah.